working to connect a region of over 600 more bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region on today's headlines. The World Health Organization warned all governments to take action over the SARS-like virus spreading from China that has killed 132 people and infected around 6,000 others. President Duterte said he was contented with the way the Kuwaiti government handled the case of slain Filipino domestic worker Jeneline Villavende. And it's business as usual for the trade and investment relations between the Philippines and China amid the new coronavirus outbreak, according to the Department of Trade and Industry Secretary Ramon Lopez. The World Health Organization warned all governments to take action over the SARS-like virus spreading from China that has killed 132 people and infected around 6,000 others. The WHO called an urgent meeting for Thursday over whether the viral epidemic should be declared a global health emergency, a designation that can increase international coordination. Airlines have begun suspending flights to and from China following cases of onward transmission outside the country. And some countries have also begun airlifting their nationals trapped in Wuhan, the quarantined Chinese city of 11 million people at the center of the epidemic. Among 206 Japanese nationals who returned home Wednesday, 12 were hospitalized for tests after they reported they felt unwell or showed flu-like symptoms. A growing number of governments, including the US, Britain, and Germany, have advised their citizens to avoid non-essential travel to China. In Geneva, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the organization deeply regrets its reports last week that referred to the global risk of the outbreak as moderate instead of high. Let's listen in.
The whole world needs to be on alert now. The whole world needs to take action and be ready for any cases that come, either from the original epicenter or from other epicenters that become established.
The level of commitment from China is incredible. Some people on social media, I will be open with you, were criticizing for praising China. I will praise China again and again because its actions actually helped in reducing the spread of coronavirus to other countries. Considering the last few days progress of the virus, especially in some countries, although the number is 68, and especially the human-to-human transmission in 3 countries, worries us. In Germany, in Vietnam, and also Japan. These are the 3 countries where we have witnessed human-to-human transmission. If this gets into a country with weak health system, then that could be problematic.
Meanwhile, the Philippine Coast Guard said they remain on heightened alert status as part of the measures being taken against the 2019 novel coronavirus. Let's listen in. All right, Eagle News, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Mga kababayan, lalo na sa mga OFWs sa Middle East at North Africa, may good news kami para sa inyo. Mapapanood na ninyo ang Net25 at iba pang Filipino channels na hatid ng OSN sa presyong abot kaya. Libre ng box at installation, walang admin fees at no extra charges. Saktong entertainment na sakto lang sa budget mo. Bumisita na sa pinakamalapit na OSN store o dealer. And subscribe now! Sa Net25 at OSN, siguradong at home ka dito.
Ang Pilipinas ay laging nakakaranas ng kalamidad.
Maging ito ay natural o man-made.
Nakapanlulumo ang mga epekto nito.
Pero tayong mga Pilipino kilala sa pagtutulungan sa panahon ng pagsubok.
Inaalalayang makabangon ang mga nasalanta at nasa matinding krisis.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon, hindi nawawala ang Filipino bayanihan spirit.
Tamang impormasyon, napapanahon, mula Batanes hanggang taon-taon. Di lamang sa bansa, kundi maging sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo. Mga balitang pakabuluhan, mga panayam sa kinauukulan, subaybayan. Dito lamang sa Net25. News, entertainment, technology.
I am here right now at Spanish Banks, one of Vancouver's popular beaches, where you get a great view of the Vancouver skyline and the North Shore Mountains. Make sure you tune in to Digital Nest every Tuesday and Thursday. I am Lou Aquino, your EBC Canada correspondent, and I am one with 25.
Hello Digital Nesters, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to watch our future features.
In Good Shape, your weekly health show on DW that covers many aspects of healthcare. We look at what's new in medical treatment, nutrition, fitness, and beauty. We discuss these topics in depth with specialists.
Where you study is important. Study in a place where it is conducive to learning and concentrating. Avoid things that will cause distractions or will make you feel lazy about studying. Avoid TV or radio with loud music. Don't study on the bed as this will cause you to sleep. If you need to use the computer, make sure you use it only for researching. Don't use social media sites when studying. Where you study is important.
Welcome back. Malaysian Premier Mahathir Mohamad Said said they want to discuss and negotiate with the Chinese government so that Malaysians who are not sick can return to Malaysia. Malaysia has reported 3 new cases of the deadly SARS-like virus within its borders, bringing the total number of cases in the Southeast Asian nation so far to 7.
Thank you, Kita telah kesan sekarang ini 7 orang yang ada bukti mengidap penyakit coronavirus ini. Tetapi kita ingin membincang runding dengan kerajaan China supaya rakyat Malaysia yang tak sakit boleh balik ke Malaysia. Kita kalau dibenar oleh kerajaan negara China, kita akan bawa makanan dan kalau dapat gloves dan mask. Kalau kita ada, pasal sana pun dah ada kekurangan bekalan, kita akan hantar kepada China gloves.
Now, Malaysia wants to evacuate 78 of its citizens from the virus-stricken Chinese city of Wuhan, according to an official on Wednesday, after confirming 7 people here were hit with the deadly coronavirus, as the government investigates another 8 for signs of the disease.
Menteri, JPM telah bersetuju untuk membawa keluar evakuasi kecemasan 78 rakyat Malaysia yang berada di Wuhan. Pembincangan lanjut akan diadakan antara kerajaan Malaysia dengan kerajaan negeri China. Selain itu,
Thai Airways are disinfecting planes coming back from China. Take a look. Chinese officials are struggling to get to grips with the spread of a SARS-like virus, which has already claimed 132 lives nationwide. Thailand's Premier Prayut Chan-o-cha said that the country was waiting for authorization from Chinese officials before evacuating people, but that aircraft and doctors were on standby. 64 Thais, 49 students, and 15 workers or tourists are now in China. President Duterte said he was contented with the way the Kuwaiti government handled the case of slain Filipino domestic worker Jeneline Villavende. However, President Duterte said he would leave it to Labor Secretary Silvestre Bebot Bello III to decide whether or not to lift the deployment ban of Filipino workers in Kuwait.
Not all are. The fact that there was an investigation and there were arrests made and there are people in detention, para sa akin, okay na sana. But ayaw ko kung ano nakain itong Ilocano na to. Talagang mainit siya. So, opisina niyan, hindi na ako nakialam. I do not want to rebuke my cabinet members publicly. So, hinayaan ko siya. Sabi ko, let us see what develops. Yan ang totoo niyan. Si Bebot kasi ang apurado. Talagang mainit siya. So, opisina niyan, hindi na ako nakialam. I do not want to rebuke my cabinet members publicly. So, hinayaan ko siya. Sabi ko, let us see what develops. Yan ang totoo niyan.
Kaya po kami nandito ngayon ay para may patayo o itatag yung ating Philippine.
Bello bared that murder charges were filed against Villavende's Kuwaiti employers and that they are now detained in a facility for criminals. Bello stood pat on his stand that the temporary ban stays until the Kuwaiti government agrees to harmonize the Memorandum of Agreement on the Protection of OFWs in the Arab country, signed by the two countries on May 11, 2018. The agreement aims to put an end to inhumane treatment committed against Filipino workers by their Kuwaiti employers. It contains provisions which include requiring workers' passports to be deposited to the Philippine Embassy and not confiscated by their employers. Workers are given 1 day off every week. Workers are given 7 hours of sleep a day. And workers are provided with decent meals and sleeping quarters. Plus, workers are provided with cell phones. Last week, presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the Kuwaiti government has yet to honor the pact on the protection of Filipino workers in the Gulf state. On December 28, 2019, Villavende was brought dead to a hospital in Kuwait after reportedly being beaten by her lady employer. The results of the National Bureau of Investigation's examination of Villavende's remains showed signs of sexual abuse on the victim. There were also old healed wounds which indicate that Villavende had been battered for weeks prior to her killing. Meanwhile, the Philippines remains open to move forward discussions on possible separate free trade agreements or FTAs with the United States and the European Union after talks have recently slowed down, according to the country's top trade official. Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez, said the Philippines is still interested to pursue possible FTAs with the two giant economies. But the discussions will also depend on how keen the counterparts are in advancing the talks. For Washington, Lopez agreed that it's not the best time to make a big push for possible trade pact talks with the current attitude of the U.S. Congress towards Philippine officials. The U.S. Congress just passed a law with a provision that bans Philippine officials involved in the detention of Senator Leila de Lima. But Lopez also said the issue on denying the entry of some Philippine officials and the possible FTA talks are separate matters. Lopez further said the United States Trade Representative has been keen on pursuing discussions with the Philippines regarding the possible FTA. In October of 2018, Lopez and U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer announced that bilateral trade issues were resolved between the two countries under the Trade and Investment Framework Agreement. The TIFA also paved the way to pursue meetings for a possible trade pact. Lopez said even without the trade deal, Philippine exports to U.S. grew 10% last year. Meanwhile, it's business as usual for the trade and investment relations between the Philippines and China amid the new coronavirus outbreak, according to the Department of Trade and Industry Secretary Ramon Lopez. Secretary Lopez told reporters on Wednesday that the Philippine government has not canceled its commitment to participate in trade and investment expositions in China, but it will take extra precautions in traveling to the neighboring country. He also said the Philippines will send delegates to 3 big trade fairs in China happening in the second half of the year. Secretary Lopez said the Philippines will participate in exhibitions this year in China, such as the China ASEAN Expo, or Expo, in Nanning, and China International Fair for Investment and Trade in Xiamen in September, as well as the China International Import Expo in Shanghai in November. In terms of trade, Secretary Lopez said the 2019 NCOV may affect product demand, particularly in provinces where there are changes in consumer behavior. For imported Chinese food products, Secretary Lopez said the purchasing managers of importers have assured him that the products are safe and will not be a carrier of the new respiratory disease to infect people. He also said the DTI will still receive incoming business missions from China, but delegations have to follow some precautionary measures. To date, there are no scheduled visits from Chinese businessmen or trade officials to the Philippines. Secretary Lopez said the country's commercial attachés based in China are now back in the Philippines because of the 2-week Spring Festival holiday in China. They will also return to their posts in China after the break. In other news, Indonesia said it has cut ties with the WWF as it accused the Global Conservation Group of overstepping its mandate in the country and unfairly criticizing efforts to extinguish out-of-control forest fires last year. The Southeast Asian nation said it had sent a letter to the World Wildlife Fund's domestic office last week, terminating a cooperation agreement that stretched back to 1998. The agreement involved joint work in the area of wildlife conservation and forestry. An Environment Ministry spokesman said the WWF improperly extended its work across the archipelago into areas linked to climate change, waste management, and environmental issues. He added that the group also fanned social media criticism of efforts this summer to stamp out blazes in Sumatra and Borneo Islands that spewed toxic haze across the region and released vast amounts of greenhouse gases. The group countered that its activities were within the limits of the cooperation agreement. It wasn't immediately clear what severing the agreement would mean for WWF's future work in the sprawling nation. Based in Jakarta, the WWF Indonesia has some 24 field offices engaged in conservation work, including on-the-ground projects, research, and advising local governments on environmental policy, according to its website. Anxieties over the impact of the novel coronavirus continue to impact both Philippine equities and the local currency. Now, the peso ended the day's trading at 50.83 from 50.75 the previous day, which BPI research pointed to jitters on the coronavirus from China, where cases of infection were reported to have risen to nearly 6,000 and the death toll now to 132. The rise of the U.S. Conference Board's Consumer Confidence Index to 131.6 last January also boosted the dollar. The peso opened the day at 50.72, better than its 50.9 start in the previous session, trading between 50.85 and 50.695, and resulting in an average of 50.773. Volume totaled $884.55 million US dollars, higher than the $778.1 million US dollars on Tuesday. The currency pair is projected to trade between 50.70 and 51 pesos on Thursday. Meanwhile, the Philippine Stock Exchange Index shed 0.9% or 6.39 points to 7,462.31 points. All shares trailed with a drop of 0.24% or 10.61 points to 4,425.06 points. Mining and oil declined the most by 2.8%, followed by the industrial 0.62%, financials 0.30%, and holding firms 0.28%. The property index rose by 0.52% and services by 0.20%. Volume total 496 million, amounting to 4.96 billion pesos. Losers led gainers at 118 to 69, while 42 shares were unchanged. The Philippine women's badminton team found itself joining two Southeast Asian rivals in one group following the result of the draw for the Badminton Asia Team Championships at the Century Park Hotel on Wednesday. The Filipina shuttlers are grouped with Thailand and Indonesia in Group Y. The two other Southeast Asian teams in the 12-team field were drawn into separate groups. Malaysia was drawn into Group W with Japan, the top seed in the distaff side, and Hong Kong. Singapore, on the other hand, ended up with second seed China and Chinese Taipei in Group Z. The other group, Group X, has South Korea, India, and Kazakhstan in it. Meanwhile, the Philippine men's team is in for a tough grind, as no less than top seed Indonesia will be in its group. Completing Group A is India. On the other hand, Group B has China, Thailand, and Hong Kong in it. Group C is made up of China, Chinese Taipei, Malaysia, and Singapore. And Group D consists of Japan, South Korea, and Kazakhstan. The Badminton Asia Team Championships will run from February 11 to the 16th at the newly renovated Rizal Memorial Coliseum, which hosted the last 30th Southeast Asian Games. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Alma Angeles. I'm always one with 25.